Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be, wherever you're tuning in from. Welcome to Sunday Night Redfellas, the only place to be for all your Liverpool chat. We are here to discuss Liverpool, going back to that phrase people hate, joint top. Doesn't really mean anything. It's not joint top. It's joint top. It's joint level on points with Arsenal. Of course, we're behind on goal difference. But boy, did we need 3 points. Did we need the convincing win more? Open goals, open play goals more, resting players more? We're going to get into all of those side shows, whether they're important or not. We'll be discuss it all. And of course, I've got the magnificent Redfellas with me to ask them how they feel. We've been just people are saying bad timekeeping, Grizz. It's not actually my fault. It's actually our resident referee who decided to bring up Vincenzo Montella's um, career up. Like I just mentioned before off the air, like, oh, Mourinho was at Fulham. That's funny. I wonder what the link is with Vincenzo Montella. And then our PGMO rep started talking about Vincenzo Montella. And he wants to know, does the chat know who Vincenzo Montella was? Let us know if you do. Tell us. Don't Google it like Evan done. Like we may know him as the resident nerd, but he actually Googled it. I'm outing you, boy. He actually started Googling his stats and facts. But let us know. Vincenzo Montella. Welcome everyone. Smash up the like buttons if you haven't already. Like, share, subscribes, all of that good stuff. In it till we aren't, Conroy. I tweeted the headline of the show. In it till we aren't. And that's where we are this Sunday evening. We are in it still. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay, Grizz. We needed to do today what needed to be done to put ourselves in a position and get back on track, if you will. So it was an important result today. I do feel as well that performance, we've said a lot of the season, the result is outweighed the performance because we've got that and our luck ran out a little bit with that. But I'd say today as well, I was looking at both things. I know we're going to discuss it in a moment, but my biggest thing was an hour before. I was intrigued to see what the lineup was going to be after the last couple of games. There's been conversations by all four of us on should there be some changes, looking at what is the best way going forward. So I was actually just as intrigued an hour before kickoff to see the lineups as well as I was to analyse the performance today. So, yeah, feeling good after it, or just maybe good's a bit of exaggeration. Feeling satisfied. That's probably the best way right now. We're put ourselves in a position. It's not a disaster. If you'd said at the start of the season, and I heard someone mention this earlier, and I thought it was a good way to look at it. If you'd asked Klopp at the start of the season, with 5 games to go, you're you're in the title race. Say you're top, and Man City have got a game in hand, whatever, and you've won a cup. He would have taken that. So if you can take that mindset into the last 5, I think you can be more optimistic and anything can happen. So definitely more half full tonight than half empty. As the majority of the time I'm half empty. So there's anything can happen. If I can be optimistic, then pigs may fly, mate. So we might win a title. You never
Yeah,
know.
we're onto something. We're onto something. If Conroy's smiling and content, we're onto something, people. We're onto something. Big up the panel, big up the chat, smash the like button. Pixelated Pigeon, as always, a man of very wise words, always says how it is. And yeah, self-explanatory there. People letting us know about what's his name? Where is it? Where have I gone? Where have I gone? I've heard his name, but I'm a youngish buck. And then none of your business says Montella was the guy at Roma. Sean says, no idea. Sam says, I've watched thousands of games. No idea who that fella is. Pasio says, striker played for Roma, wasn't it? So there you go. It's all about Del Vecchio. Okay, that's a shout. Marco Del Vecchio. That's not a bad shout as well. None of your business says Montella feels like an age ago, days of Vieri, etc. Yeah, now we're coming through. People of knowledge on this chat, as usual, are educating us as well.
Definitely, Grizz, but I think your favourite shout of that type of era player is it Salih Hamidic, who was it the left back who was great at free kicks.
No.
He played for.
The great left back for free Hicks. Now, Salihamidzic was the Bayern Munich robust winger type thing. You're talking about
He scored 2 free kicks against Leeds in the Champions League. I can't remember
left-footed,
his
one of the
name.
most deadliest free kicks takers of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Torsten
Uh,
Frings?
no.
No, it was.
Yugoslav left back, man.
Yeah,
Someone's gonna hit me in the chat. Someone's gonna hit me. There you go. Sinisa Mihailovic. Sinisa Mihailovic.
deadly
If you
left foot,
don't
deadly.
know, get to know. Because what I said earlier on was when Trent, and we're gonna get into it, and maybe we're a bit scrambled, man. It's not often Liverpool score from open goal, guys. It's been a while. We've scrambled talking, we're scrambled thinking. But yeah, Mihailovic was probably the most deadliest free kick taker of all time. Like, he was magnificent.
Like
If you
up there
don't
with
know-
Juninho?
Yes. And this
Okay.
is mad because he's a left
Yeah.
back. Slow, not dynamic, very nothing powerful or explosive about him. But my God, when it came to that left foot, I've never seen a left foot like it. Put it that way. People go and Google some of the shit that he done, and then you'll realize what I'm talking about. Great shout, Anfield Road, and great shout. We have LFC Sai in the building who's gifted 1 Football Carnage membership. Thank you so much, my brother. You promised me that you're going to give some memberships out, and you have done so. Casano is a great shout as well. Attitude, but bad boy in terms of talent. Guys, calm down. I know you all want to show off about your knowledge, your football knowledge, and you guys are magnificent. I'm not going to lie, but get back on track. This is the Redfellas. This is Liverpool. Ev, going into this game, Gage. I want to Gage a bit of a feeling. I think it was a bit flat. Would that be a best way of describing it after the couple of weeks we've had? The Man United result, the Palace result, and then the Atalanta tie result, even though we won and the way we lost. Is that how you describe it? Or was no, we can get back on track. A few wins this week, like we do need, and everything's kind of rosy again. What was your feeling at?
Well, I mean, flat is putting it kindly, Grizz. That's the kind way to put it. Because I mean, no beating around the bush. It's been a disastrous 30 days for Liverpool. You know, that's an embarrassing FA Cup exit, and some embarrassing cases of dropped points, an embarrassing exit from the Europa League, and it all just happened bang, 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 bang. You know, 1 week after another. Some people. Or some clubs are able to spread their blips out over a season. Liverpool had about 5 in a row. No goals from open play for something approaching 300-ish or well over 300 minutes of football played. So that's obviously not great. Players coming back from injury, struggling to bed in immediately. You know, it's been a while since we've seen Curtis Jones at his sharpest. We'll get into Trent's performance eventually, but Trent had yet to fully get in the swing of things again, understandably. The vibe was putrid, is the word I would have gone for, and that's no one's fault. Really, it's just what the vibe can become when you have such swift and unattractive exits from so many competitions. I don't think anyone had reason to believe that today was going to be easy. No one had a reason. Fulham are not the pushover Premier League team that they've been in recent years. Marco Silva is not the pushover manager that Liverpool or that anyone might think he is. Tarmizi pointed out a few minutes ago. That's first away win against a Marco Silva team. We've had some embarrassing losses. Yeah, we've lost 3-0 away to Hull in 2016, I believe, under Marco Silva. So it's he seems to know what to do against a team like us. He's put together a very good team. In London, I think Fulham are a good mix of youth and old. They have some wily veterans in there mixed with some athletic, sort of sparky youth. Not the relegation fodder that they've occasionally been in the last 5-6 years. So No one was expecting it to be easy. You asked, what did we need? Did we need the open play goals more? Did we need the win more? Did we need the convincing win more? That's a near impossible question to ask. Me and my dad were going back and forth, and I was like, what would you prefer today, an open play goal or not conceding inside 20 minutes? And we deliberated back and forth over that. So yeah, pretty stinky vibes going into this one.
LFC Sai is the MVP. Is that what you guys say in USA, Evan? MVP? Yeah. LFC Sai is without doubt the MVP of tonight's show. He is gifting out memberships. Grab them while you can. He's handed out 8, I believe, already. Big up LFC Sai. Look at that, another one. Wow. Grab them up. We have the super chat, first one of the night. John Loiso says, big up team, my go-to channel after every game. We appreciate. We need to have an unfortunate discussion on a certain 11 eyes emoji, Hall of Shame cameo from him, and 9. We will have every conversation that we have planned, and if someone wants to have a conversation in the chat, let us know. I may have forgotten about something very important that you guys want us to discuss. How's that for a new segment? Kath, I don't even know what Evan used the word, like how he would describe the mood. He said something teetering. What was it?
Putrid.
Yeah. I heard it. Cav, he found it putrid. I found it flat.
Yeah.
How was your mood going into this around the whole Liverpool setup, team, players, rotation? What did you expect?
I was calm, but for the wrong reasons, to be honest with you.
At ease.
At
peace.
Exactly. Said it on last week's Redfellas. I do think the league is going to be very difficult to obtain now. I think Man City have got it in their grasp, and so really my focus turns to Jurgen Klopp and his farewell sort of final games now, and making sure that we go out in a way that that showcases what he's all about. You know, he came into Liverpool at a time where we needed a savior and we needed bringing together, and he turned us from doubters to believers. And I feel like we've kind of, in the past few weeks, because of our recent performances, because of our knockout in competitions, because of our falling behind in the league, some of us have perhaps gone back to doubters, especially this season, perhaps optimistic for next. So I just thought we just need to put in performances that really represent what Klopp's about, what Liverpool's Klopp's been about. And that's really what I was hoping to see is from here on in, just some performances, of course, results, and put yourself in a place. I think Trent said it best after the game, that if there's slip-ups like last weekend, that we're in a position to capitalize. And of course we need results, but I just feel like we've sort of past few weeks, you could even go as far as to say past couple of seasons, we've lost a little bit of our identity, certainly fallen away from the identity that Klopp instilled on us. So really, I just wanted to get back to that, you know, back to some energy, back to some good football, some smiles, some aggression, some fight, and see where that takes us. And of course, it started with Fulham today, this sort of mini 6-game season that we've got left. So that's where my attention was. It's about putting in a performance that represents the manager for his final few games. So like I said, I was incredibly calm. Not a good thing, but actually, as I was calm, I kind of enjoyed the game a little bit more as well, because it took away the emotion and I just was able to focus on what we were seeing. So we'll get into that.
Conroy, Cap talks about sort of he wanted to see a bit of identity back, and obviously intensity is our identity, right? We know that. We know intensity, our identity, and it was something that has been lacking in the last few weeks. And obviously, a lot of people suggested that it was tiredness, legs, fatigued. Different players at different levels of fatigueness or readiness. So some coming back from injury, some having to play a load because of the injuries. You know, just different phases of levels of fitness of the players, and it kind of showed. But today's selection suggested to me that Klopp was aware of all that. And people forget 4 games, and we've discussed this before leading up to it, these 4 away games in this 4 away games in 9 days was always going to be defining, and we kind of expected a few changes. But did you expect this many changes? And did you expect this line? What did you think of the lineup when I told you? But now I'm joking. When we found out,
Yeah, the thing is, Grizz, I think it's not just been one game. There's been a few now that even last week, if I remember, Evan mentioned it as well. Been a few weeks now. We've been suggesting that certain players should get a run, specifically Harvey Elliott. Even if you want to, bring the feeling that when he starts games, he doesn't have the same impact. It was getting to a point where that was just for what he's doing in a 20-minute spell warrants him getting a start anyway. So I feel like there's a bit of that, and also with the amount of fixtures in quick succession coming up, we have to use our squad fully. So a bit of both on that. But I was quite happy to see Elliott start. Gravenberch was, pardon the pun, a bit left field, because I think last week we were speaking about he seems to be the forgotten man. That he didn't even mention him. He comes in, and I think we're going to talk about it, but I think he does very well when he scores his goal, takes it brilliantly. So that was a nice surprise as well. I wasn't sure how that one was going to work when the game started, but pleasant surprise. So with those two, I was happy. Also as well, because Kwanzaa, I can't remember if he started during the week, but obviously Kanate played last weekend. So Kwanzaa, barring a few mistakes as you'd expect from a young centre back, he's been pretty clutch for us, to be honest. So no issues with that. And the one thing I was happy with as well, Grizz, I have to be honest, I think Cody Gakpo's done pretty well last couple of games, like in not great situations. Don't think he's been poor at all. And I think he warranted a start to show what he could do. And I know we're going to discuss it, but that was the one that I was quite happy to see, because I feel like with Gakpo, it's not shielding him from criticism. I'm not saying that if he has a poor game, we'll call it out. But at times in the past, he does seem to be, maybe scapegoat's too strong a word, but because sometimes he gets put in different positions and he's not always getting a run of games, I do feel at times it's the easy one to go at. So I was quite happy to see him get another opportunity today as well.
Ev, we've been discussing obviously changes and rotations, and obviously when we change in midfield, it's usually sort of like for like, position for position, pretty much. And of course, Kwanzaa for Konate is a regular occurrence, and we've discussed the just the brilliance of Kwanzaa. I'm gonna say it again, and we obviously may go on to talk about individually at the end, but Kwanzaa's just brilliant. Honestly, I find him so soothing to watch. We're going to use different terminology for different feelings. I'm just going to use soothing. You can use Bertrand for this as well if you want, but that's up to you. But what always kind of the topic of conversation always goes to the forwards, especially when Salah doesn't play. Because when Salah doesn't play, then the question always arises, who's going to go to the right? Whoever goes to the right has an effect who goes to the left. And then, of course, no Nunez. So who goes through the middle? Because who goes through the middle then affects the width as well. You get my point. When Salah and Nunez don't start, then the three that are remaining have multiple positions they can play in. Did you think this was the way you would have set up? Diaz goes to the right, Gakpo's to the left, and the Slaughter goes through the middle. What did you think?
That is how I would set up the front three, but you're totally right, Grizz. When you take Salah and Nunez out of there, it becomes anybody can play anywhere, because we've seen Jota through the middle, we've seen him off the left, and we've seen that about 50-50, in his Liverpool career. That there was a time where Klopp even preferred to do Jota on the left and Mane through the middle towards the end of 21-22. So that's been a phenomenon as well. But when you take those stalwarts out, Salah and Nunez, it becomes anybody's guess. But that is how I would have set it up, and I was generally really pleased with the results. I think it brought out some angles and some moves that I hadn't seen from Diaz in a while. Because when Diaz's goal is always to cut inside from the left and get on his right foot, it becomes a bit predictable, and we start to know really what it looks like in terms of his body language and the sort of hints that he gives off with the shoulder feints. Whereas coming down the right hand side, he has an entirely sort of different bag of tricks, and he has a different different way he, cuts inside. We expect him to pass in certain situations now. So it was a fresh change. It was a cool aesthetic change, if nothing else. And Gakpo, of course, has had a majority of his best performances in a Liverpool shirt through the middle. I think towards the tail end of the previous season where Klopp was playing Nunez off the left, Gakpo was doing some pretty decent, more than decent, I think, Firmino impressions during those games. Hasn't had as much joy through the middle this season as we've stuck with Nunez through the middle to varying degrees of success. But I think Gakpo off the left, drifting into half spaces, collaborating with the midfield line very well. I thought that was awfully effective. I thought he brought a physical power to the left-hand side that Diaz can offer through his stamina, but not necessarily through his frame. That's a part of Gakpo's game I've always liked. You used the word soothing to describe Jarell Quansah. I like that word. Soothing is very good. Reminds me of lotion, which I forgot to put on my arms today. My skin's feeling a little bit dry. But I like the word empowering. I feel Jarell Quansah is empowering for me as a fan. And what I mean by that is that he's a constant reminder that players can really come out of nowhere. And by the end of the season, they are stalwarts in your team. And you're like, what would we have done without Jarell Quansah? What would we have done without Connor Bradley? Guys who maybe a majority of the fan base didn't even know. Okay, maybe people knew who Connor Bradley was because we were getting positive updates on his loan spell. But Jarell Quansah, I mean, rough estimate, how many Liverpool fans across the world did not know who Jarell Quansah was this time last year? I'd say a solid 50%. I'd say it's above 50%. No lower than
much
that.
More.
Yeah, that's conservative, I think. But yet by the end of this campaign, we could all say we would be lost without him because Konate has not been able to be relied upon. Trent's had a raft of injury issues coming into the calendar year, and we've lent heavily on both him and Bradley. So for me, it's empowering as a fan. I now get to look at the academy and think, wow, so somebody could just come out of nowhere. We've kept the media away from them. They have the right attitude. They can just come out of nowhere and have an empowering effect, not only on the football being played, but on our spirit as fans. That players can really surprise us. And that's why I'm always really careful. I don't want to write anybody off or point to any academy player and say, well, he doesn't have a chance, because you never know. You really never know.
No, you're spot on. Big up, guys. Great result today, man. Like Javs in the building as well. Smash the like by Conroy says. Big up LFC Sai, who I think gifted over 10 memberships today. Thank you very much for that. Our resident Elvis Presley lookalike, Ganto's in the building. He says over 200 and only 60 likes. That's a mad poor ratio for us. We're usually on 100 likes by now. You guys are slacking. If you're still feeling a bit, come on, man. Liverpool just won, and we scored from open play, and we rested our big boys, and we have got selection headaches to talk about. So much to talk about. Cav, Elliot, Gravenberch, Endo, midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Honest thoughts, and when that was the midfield away, tough trip to Fulham, who were going to have Paulina in there, who's probably after Rodri and Rice the best physically commanding DM around. Did you have apprehension of that midfield going up against that hardworking midfield of Fulham's?
Yeah, so look, I was of the opinion that we needed to shake things up. We'd gone stagnant, we'd gone slow. We sort of lacked belief. We spoke a lot about our build-up play, and it looked like we were just dwindling, and we were petering out the season. So I think in terms of the lineup, we needed to do something. We needed to mix it up in some way to generate some energy, if not anything else. And one way of doing that is by putting youngsters in. Quansah and Elliot, they've got careers to play for. So they're trying to force their way into this side permanently. And so they're going to be putting on performances. So they've always got that individual motivation to go out there and perform. And perhaps that youth and exuberance would sort of carry us somewhat. But Fulham, I think their league position is a bit deceptive. They're actually a very good side. Evan spoke about their age profiling and some of the ability they've got in that team. And he's right. They've got in Paulinho especially a really combative midfielder, and they can be physical. So to put in two youngsters in there, I know Gravenberch is a tall man. And at times he is quite press resistant, and he uses his footwork very well to wriggle out of situations, but he can be caught. You know, we've seen in recent weeks, Endo can be caught as well when you press him. We've seen that on occasion today. And Elliott, neat and tidy, but, you know, the physical side of the game is where he needs to be clever as opposed to trying to match up, you know, physicality-wise with the opposition midfield. So, of course, it was a risk. And that's where the game was going to be won or lost, was in that midfield. And to be fair, we'll come on to the performances. I think they stood up well. In terms of the lineup, Trent coming back in obviously has a massive impact. It has a ripple effect on how we build up. You know, everything becomes a little bit more direct, but with accuracy, which is great. And Cody has been playing well, and I've been kind of asking for in recent weeks. You just threw up the sort of average positions, Grizz. What the average position showing you was that you see Jota there, the furthest man forward, as you would expect, as leading the line, but then the other two kind of just in a little bit behind. I think what we've seen in recent weeks with the likes of Nunez, Salah, and Diaz is they've always been stood on the edge of the opposition's defence, and not one of them has dropped in the hole. Not one of them has come back to try and offer support to midfield, and that's where that link's not quite been there. And so I suggested a couple of weeks back that perhaps we wanted to drop Salah out and put Elliott in there because we needed somebody that was going to bridge the gap between midfield and forward, and someone that's a bit selfless. You know, one of that front three that would drop in and try and feed the other two, if you like, or on rushing fullbacks. As it turned out, that kind of responsibility was given to Gakpo, and Evan's spoken about how he used his physicality and his frame and stuff well to sort of pick up the midfield from deep and drive forward. And I think he did well today. So it was exciting to see that we'd freshened it up. It was exciting to see some players that warranted starts. I thought Elliott deserved a start. I thought Cody deserved a start of recent performance, and we knew it was gonna do something, and it was just a question as to whether that something would be a positive performance or it would be more sort of pain in that Fulham would beat us. But I think the sad thing in recent weeks is that there's not just been one way to get at Liverpool. It used to be, oh, if you attack down the right-hand side, that space might be vacant, you can kill us. Actually, if we're being honest, it felt like in recent weeks that if you went man for man, you could get joy. If you pressed high, you could get joy. If you sat back, you could get joy. And we needed to change that. We needed to give the opposition something different to think about. And by putting Gravenberch and Elliott in there, I think Fulham might have just, and Silva might have just looked at it and gone, how are we going to get at Liverpool now? You know, are we going to fully press or are we going to sit back? And I don't think they quite got that right, which is where maybe we got some joy. But I was happy with the lineup, like I say, just from a pure basis that it felt a bit different, which is what I think we needed.
Big up, excuse me, big up Pimp in Distress. He says 100 likes. Come on, guys, minimum. Smash the likes for Papa Gray's well-being and recovery. Thank you very much for the best wishes from all of you, the DMs, the messages, the inboxes. Dad is doing much better now. He had his operation and it's just recovery mode now. Bless you all for the prayers and best wishes. Much appreciated. Yeah, I thought it was a controlled start, you know, guys. I thought we were extra careful with our passing, maybe a tad too careful, not to turn over possession, not to be counter-attacked easily. We know that kind of leads to the straight away. The first time we lose the ball or team puts pressure out, we concede. So I think we were extra careful. Did you guys pick that up as well? I'm not sure if it's Evan I'm going to or Conroy, but whoever, take your pick. Did you notice that too as well? I thought we were a bit apprehensive, or was that the way to go about it? Because it was vital, absolutely vital, that we don't give any away game in the Premier League is hard. But if you give the away crowd something to believe in or something to hold on to, it can get very, very sticky, right?
Yeah. I think especially given we've had a tendency going back longer than perhaps people remember to give teams joy inside 15 to 20 minutes. And we especially a team like Fulham, who, all due respect, have nothing to play for. You know what I mean? They're not getting European football, I don't think, and they're safe from relegation. So they have nothing to play for. The last thing we want to do is shoot ourselves in the foot inside 10 to 20 minutes and get the crowd going and give them like, oh, we have nothing to play for, but wow, if we could take points off of Liverpool, that would be empowering, for all involved. So we don't want to give teams that, especially a team that doesn't have, anything to play for. A team that's fighting for their lives for relegation or has an outside chance of European football, they're going to have fire in their stomachs already. But we really didn't want to give them that. And even though inside the first 20 minutes, although we created chances, I believe Trent, hit a few dangerous balls into the box. Diaz perhaps should have scored. We were very patient. Apprehensive is, I think, the right word, Grizz. In the first phase of buildup, perhaps still scarred by the physicality and relentlessness of that Atalanta man-to-man press that was so effective against us, both legs. We were very, I think, scared to give the ball to Endo in certain positions when we perhaps could have to break the first line. They were content, like Atalanta were under Gasperini, to allow Alisson to have the ball. Other teams might press Alisson. They want to force Alisson long. They did not want to force Alisson to go long. They wanted to see if we would give it to a midfielder between the lines, and they backed themselves to win those duels, as they should. Polina, one of the better duelists in Europe's top 5 leagues. Sasa Lukic is also the conservative inclusion there. So yeah, apprehensive is the key word there, Grizz, but it's also good because there's so many times. How many times over the last 2 seasons, even 3 seasons, guys, have we looked at each other and said, we didn't even have to be brilliant to win. We just had to not flip the game script against ourselves week after week after week. How many more? We were crap last season, but we would not have been nearly as crap points-wise if we hadn't had some sort of weird commitment to conceding first inside 20 minutes. And that's a symptom that we haven't fully shaken off. In the last month has shown that. The whole season has shown that. We have an obnoxious amount of points from losing positions this season. It reminds me of something a Man City player said a few seasons ago. I have no idea if this is still the ethos over there, but Guardiola used to tell his players, even when they'd be at home against lesser opposition, he'd say, just pass it around. Just don't let them touch it for the first 10 to 15 minutes. Show them allow a thought to enter their mind that this is exactly what the entire game is going to be. They are going to be chasing it around. They are not going to be winning duels in midfield. They're not going to be disrupting our buildup or winning individual physical one-on-ones in midfield against us. Just pass it around. And that's what the City teams of 17-18 and 18-19 would do. They don't do it as much anymore. They're a little more direct these days. But that I was thinking about that as Quansah was going to Van Dijk and Van Dijk was going to Robertson and Robertson would go back to Van Dijk. I was thinking, you know what? In the case of ticking this one box of not conceding first inside 20 minutes, I'm actually okay with this. I'm actually okay with this. In our one glimpse at goal inside the first 10 minutes was a short corner routine that ended with a dangerous Trent ball in. We easily could have had a little miniature smash and grab there inside the first 10 to 15 minutes. And we had plenty of those in our peak under Klopp. I know I'm talking a lot, but this is something that I've been really thinking about quite a bit as we've struggled so much in the last month. But yeah, Grizz, apprehensive is the correct word for it, but apprehensive for a good reason.
F. Jacob says, moustache looking great, Evan. Unreal.
Oh, thank you.
And then
That's really sweet.
Emoji. It's a lot of compliments for a bit of hair on your lip. Conroy, I'm in total agreement with Evan. I noticed that as well in terms of the build-up being very particular, very methodical, very unlike Klopp, Liverpool, what we're used to. But it was needed, as Evan says, especially on the back of what we've been doing recently, and especially conceding the first goal and everything. But we start making chances as well. We start working our way in towards dangerous areas. We have a free kick, I believe, just a few minutes before we actually score, and it's on the other side. You're on mute. Did we all think this is Elliott territory, or was you
No,
surprised?
I still
Elliot took it?
don't. I
You
still
still don't
don't. Get
believe
away
it?
from that ball.
Okay.
Get away from that ball, mate.
Okay.
Honestly, try to go under the wall like Charlie Adam in Old Firm Derby.
No, not your
Terrible
cup of
free
tea.
kick. Embarrassing free kick. That's my pet hate. I'm sorry if you're a set piece taker. See when you just have like a feeble effort, that shouldn't happen. That's like it's like corner takers not beating the first man. You should at least be
Okay.
able to have a justifiable effort that doesn't look like you've just came in off the crowd and taken a competition at half time. You know, the half time competitions. That was a pathetic effort by, and I love Elliot, but that was pathetic. And to be honest, Trent, as much as it can be frustrating with free kicks, he scored a few from that angle from the right. Chelsea, Crystal Palace, when he swept it over that side. So yeah, that was just my point on that. But listen, it's a bit of fun. It's a bit tongue in cheek comment, but yeah, I didn't think that was going to be Elliot. I thought that was going to be Trent. However, thankfully we got another opportunity literally a few minutes later by, as the previous mentioned, Paulinho done an uncharacteristic decision-making foul, to be honest, or just he's playing that couple of minutes. Just it seemed a bit uncontrolled for someone who's quite
Well,
good
this is
at
it, but I
decision
think
making.
this is the result of keeping the ball away from them for long periods of that 30 minutes.
Some erratic, yeah.
We just didn't let them touch the ball. It was literally just don't let them touch the ball. There was no atmosphere from the away crowd. I mean, West London, Fulham's a lovely, area, ground surrounding it. It's not the most volatile. It's not the most toxic. They can't get on top of you. But they can if you let them, kind of thing. And we didn't let them. We kept the ball away. And then I think it was, as you said, uncharacteristics from Paulinho in terms of frustration got the better of him. They weren't getting near the ball.
Definitely.
We were just keeping it away, using Alisson as a third centre back almost, and then Virgil and Kwanzaa just kept the ball, and then waiting for the openings. I just thought we're going to wait for the heavyweights to come on and just tire them out, keep chasing them, because like Evan said, they haven't got much to play for, and they're not going to want to just keep running all day and night. So the spaces would have appeared in the second half. But as you said, sorry, go on. You was going to elaborate on something.
No. I think you and Evan have actually. This is why I love talking on this show, because you don't always think about stuff in relation to that. I think that's a really, both what you said about that more pragmatic approach is a great point. I think Keith's not here tonight, so I'm going to say this for Keith. Keith has said multiple times in the last couple of weeks, and I think he's been bang on the money. He says no one wants to be the great entertainers when it's a title race. And I think we've said that. You think in Newcastle, in the past with Kevin Keegan and stuff. And Keith has been saying this for a couple of weeks. Like, that pragmatic approach is justified that you need to do that at times. You can't be open and being great for the neutral. At the end of the day, the neutrals are irrelevant, the spectacles are irrelevant. It's about getting the result or doing something that will build your confidence. And I think on that as well, going later in the game, even Van Dijk's defending, it was no nonsense. It was like, we need this win. I'm not messing about today. At times where he maybe would try a pass, it was like, no, there's just been too many individual or team errors in recent weeks that we're not doing that today. We're getting over the line, which I thought was really quite good to see. But I think that backs up you and Evan's point as well, that was the mentality in the squad today. Back to basics, I think the comment said earlier. I think that's a really good way to look at it. And can I just add this one thing in as well, Grizz? When Evan mentioned the thing about like Pep and the way Man City, it's like, keep it away from the ball. And as you're seeing every week now, there's this conversation about, I prefer watching Liverpool, because of this. But as a fan, I don't really care if you prefer watching Man City. Have got a way of playing that'll destroy a team's confidence, and it might not be great on the eye. It might be boring to watch, but to be honest, we're not here to entertain other people. You're here to get the win. And I think that's just Evan's point earlier on that. It's a really, not for today's show, but that's an interesting debate I think you'll probably get in the future of football, because the amount of over-analysing in the sport, it allows it to be like to absolutely suffocate teams to get the result is probably much smarter at times. But I have to say, it was nice to not be the great entertainers today, to be honest. It was nice not to leave gaps in space to make it like a basketball match. That was quite enjoyable.
RXK TV rightly reminds us, and I noticed it, and it goes exactly with what we've just spoken about. Watch the kickoff again, he corrects himself. We didn't go for the usual punt forward and then counter press from them. We just kept the ball. we just kept the ball between us from the very, very start. We've got some people joining in. Obviously, Stoichkov and Haji were ballers. Just a random comment. Obviously, he's just joining in and watching it from the start. But they were absolutely... Haji was one of my favourites growing up. But maybe I'm showing my age. Georgie Haji. I wasn't a big Stoichkov fan, though, Gucci. That I wasn't a big Stoichkov fan. I just thought him... Haji? Wow, now you're talking my language. Cav... Elliot free kick, not so good. Trent says, oh my God, over my dead body, the second one. The ball has landed at your feet in terms of talking about Trent. Lucky you, lucky us that we've got a footballer like Trent. We've missed him, like, man. This, like, the amount of time he took and the precision and the build up to it. My God, if you want a free kick struck perfectly, that was it, right?
Yeah, it was perfection. Free kick perfection. And you know what? One thing I kind of been saying a while back, I haven't mentioned it of late. I wanted to see our forwards carry the ball. I want us to start seeing running at people, drive into space, because although sometimes you can run into a cul-de-sac and sometimes it comes to nothing and the ball bobbles out, it might be counted on or whatever, you can get penalties, you can get free kicks, and we have really good set piece takers in this team. So I was really pleased to see us pick the ball up and drive into space on the edge of the 18-yard box to create these opportunities. But look, you spoke about the Elliott attempted free kick, and Trent talks after the game about...
Here's a side little thing. Amir says, saw some comments that the Harvey free kick was a decoy that made the wall made sure the wall didn't jump when
possibly
Trent took it.
Possibly. I mean, we're playing 4D chess here. If we think
that's 4D chess right there.
Does that count as an Elliott assist? Because I'll take it.
Pre assist.
Yeah. Good luck writing that one down, Ev. I think they clearly did their analysis. Trent said so much in the post match that Fulham opted to jump at the free kicks, which is why Elliott tried to go under the wall. I gotta be honest, even if it went under the wall, I don't think it would have reached the back of the net anyway. But look, you find yourself not too long later in a similar position, a little bit further back, and you're just looking at it and you're seeing Trent over it, and you're thinking, this is perfect. This is exactly where he wants it. And there's probably none better on that pitch to go and take that. But he is absolutely perfect. And I love a free kick when it's taken, when you just see the ball hit the back of the net but drop, the net don't ripple, and it tells you it's hit the corner. It tells you it's hit the back corner, and it was just absolute perfection. And then Trent decided to just roll out every single celebration that he could think of, because he must think he's not scoring for the rest of the season, because I counted about 3 or 4 goal celebrations there. But it was nice to go 1-up. It was nice to see smiles on the boys' faces. It was nice to see celebrations, start enjoying our football again. And at this point, as you guys talked about, we were controlling the game. We're passing it around. We're probing slightly. And it was just the perfect time on 31 minutes to get the goal. And then it becomes a question of, okay, what's our game management going to be like today? Because that's something that we've heavily criticised this season. But exceptional free kick, and from a player that, like you said, Grizz, we have missed during his time away. I think Bradley stepped up. He started out like a house on fire, and I think his performances sort of dwindled a little bit while still being good. But you want a guy of Trent's quality in as much as possible in a league campaign, especially towards the end, because they're the key moments that can change whether you get a title or a trophy or not. Star quality from dead ball situations. And say again, just absolute perfection.
You've gone, sorry, Cav, gone.
Yeah, just to add this into Cav's point. No, sorry, it was just to add in, because Cav's absolutely spot on with this. But even at the Atalanta game, it's just so different when you've got Trent, because as much as we complained about it in the past, that it's been our only avenue, being more direct with his passing ability, but he's just such a unicorn in the sense of you can not actually have that great a game, but if he's on the park, you've got an outlet that can just change a game in a second, and teams know that as well. So teams are fearful. So it's like they might even press him higher, so there's more space. It's not unprecedented, but it is quite unique. And I just feel like, he's just we should never forget, and I know I say it a lot, but he's just some player. Like, and he's not even 100% right now. Even the Atalanta game, you could tell that his passing's not going to be a bit rusty because he's not really hit the ground yet. He needs to get a few games under his belt. But even in the first minutes with the cross for Diaz, you could tell there's a bit of like, I'm here now, you need to step up. Because even his reaction to Diaz's miss, it's like, you need to do better. And there's that, which I love about him, to be honest, because it's like, if your game is to put it on a plate for people, it's their job to take it. And I think that's isn't why he'll be a good leader for the team as well, being that vice captain. But I just think what Cav's saying as well, that even if the team's not playing great, when you've got someone with a wand of a right foot who can just change a game in a second, it's massive going into the last 5 games, is it now, guys? 5-6 games. It's huge for us as a team.
It's a total different way of playing against us, and for us, it's a total way of attacking or approaching games as well, isn't it, Evan? When you've got someone so basically, look, so many analogies people can use, but when you go into a battle, the more special weapons you have, the more chances you have of winning that battle, winning that fight. If people know that you carry a pistol and that's it, then where am I going with this analogy? But you get my point. So,
but that's kind of been the theme of the season, though, Chris, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's true. Like if we have more weapons at our disposal, when I'm talking special weapons, our enemy or the person we're going into battle with doesn't know which one we're going to pull out at any given time. And this is what Trent does for you. You can be cornered and how many times did we see this? And have we seen this in the past? You can have a very basic ball one in the corner where you've counter-pressed or you've just beaten a guy to a ball. You give the ball to Trent. And I think Connor Bradley has been magnificent. I've been the biggest fan of Connor Bradley. And I think the redemption of Joe Gomez has been brilliant. And I love Robertson on the other side more than anything else. I think Robertson is a legend. And all of these players, no one can turn a counter press or defensive transition into an attack where one of our attackers is literally one-on-one, like Trent Alexander the Great.
Yeah, 100%. And he had his passing range as well today. It was very early on that he started pinging passes out. I'm not sure, Ever, you spoke about the Luis Diaz sort of involvement at the start. And I think I remember the first moment that occurs where Trent pings a ball out to him and he chests it down and he's one-on-one with the defender and he does some fancy footwork to go by his man. But them situations can only happen if you connect them passes. It's all well and good attempting it, but the accuracy has got to be there. It's got to put the player that's receiving the ball in a position where he can go and then affect the game. And that's what we gained today with Trent back on the pitch, was that quick, direct accuracy that allowed people to go and attack up top. So, and like you say, Grizz, another angle of attack. But that's kind of been the way the season's gone. How many times have we started with a particular front three and then the guys that come off the bench make the impact because they're different types of players? That armory has worked quite well this season. Being able to bring guys on and off. It just felt like of late they all kind of found a little bad patch of form, which is rather unfortunate, to be honest with you.
If you wanted to weigh in on the Trent Renaissance comeback into the team, Evan, it changes completely the dynamic, doesn't it, for us? Evan's
Extraordinary.
Yeah, he's deep in contemplation and thought. He will come back with some wise words once he's out of that meditation and contemplation. But the show must go on. The man with the golden moustache is admiring himself right now. Maybe we can all admire him for the next 5 seconds as well. Look at that moustache. What a grand moustache. Smash the likes if you haven't. If you haven't, look at that moustache. Smash a like for that moustache. 1-0 up, and we mentioned I think he's back. Whoops. How does this work?
Hey, what's better than one Evan?
I think let's remove him from this and then he can come back on when he's ready. I think that's the way to work on it. But yeah, listen,
do you know what,
guys,
Chris? Just a small thing. We spoke about control at the start of that game, and we spoke about our sort of press, a risk adverse sort of passing. And I think part of it actually was we were a bit fearful of going forward at times. It felt like ball into Endo, Gravenberch. It was their first thought was to pass it back again. And other than sort of Gakpo and Jota at times that were willing to sort of get the ball, turn and actually face the opposition goal, I felt like Trent was the only man that was actually trying to sort of progress the ball out of defence. And at times he was doing something that I really like, and we spoke about before, is when you play a pass, put a message on it. And at times he wasn't playing it to the man's feet. He was putting it in space to say almost run onto it and go forward. You know, he would put it into the wide areas where he knew our player would get to it, but he knew by the time the player had got there that he would have to go and do the next phase of the build-up. So it wasn't passing for passing's sake; it had purpose behind it, and it was only small. It was only intricate around our defense and midfield. But he was the only man that was trying to sort of help recreate the angle and try and get us progressing out of the back, because it looked like Endo and Grav and Elliot as well at times for a large part of that sort of first half an hour were a bit scared to try anything risky.
Understandable as well, because A, they haven't been playing much. B, most of our goals have been through our mistakes or teams transitioning us, and obviously Szoboszlai has been, you know, the biggest culprit in recent weeks, and so it's understandable. Gravenberch lost the ball on the edge of the box where he's trying to control it and move in one motion. I guess we're going to probably segue into that where we spoke about game management. And guys, do you remember when we used to, the amazing team of 1920 era, where our game management and our smartness during a game was like just elite of elite levels. Like very few teams have game management like that. I remember the Mourinho Chelsea used to be like that. I've always bigged them up for that. We know the Real Madrid team is one of the best, like sort of the Casemiro team, whatever. And honestly, I think our team was one of the most elitist as well in terms of game management. And I just despair at sometimes the game management this team has got, like decision after decision. And it kind of starts with our senior players, Cav. I think, well, I have to go to you. There's no one else left here. I think it's mad. Like Alisson tries to take a quick free kick. Before that, Robertson plays a pass into Gravenberch when there's no need. And we know Gravenberch is a young, progressive type player on the ball. And we'll discuss his performance as well. Game management is like literally coming up to half time. The goal we concede is just, okay, Conroy's back. Maybe Conroy wants to weigh in. The goal we concede, Conroy, it's just some of the worst game management. And it's just indicative of patches of our season.
Yeah, and I think we spoke about this last week as well, and refreshing the midfield and looking at that, but seeing those teams, even not for the starting 11, but Jordan Henderson, James Milner, there's experience in there. There's a lot of appearances as well, so they've felt that, you know, frustration or embarrassment conceding goals like that through their career, so they know what to do and when to do it, and when a good passing move is a good idea, and when no nonsense is a better option, or just play it safe. And I do think this will not be the last time we see those moments, because it is a refreshed team, especially in the middle of the park. But it's very frustrating, Grizz. It reminds me of Arsenal last season, conceding the first minute, terrible, and then we get back in the game, and then we concede bang on half time in that game. Now that's maybe the worst example we've had of that. That's when it was absolute peak. But it's just those moments where it's like, do you know what? Nothing has to happen now. Just see it out, and that, I think that is where, as much as it was the right time to refresh the midfield, absolutely, that experience in the Premier League of being like, okay, anything can happen. You're still against a team who's got players that can hurt you. Every team's got players that can hurt you. Just play it safe, get to half time. And I don't know if it is through these experiences that catches on to these players as well. But I think it just isn't a coincidence. Those things don't happen to those other teams that often. And it's frustrating, because it's like, as Evan said at the start of the game, it wasn't an opening 15 minutes, but you're giving a team a gateway back into the game. Now, Fulham's not the best example for momentum and atmosphere to like get on you. Like, and that's not having a go. I think we'd all say it's not a bad stadium or bad crowd, but it's more a like enjoyable atmosphere of the game. Like, people are coming to watch the spectacle. But you're giving people opportunities. So, like, Fulham might not have much to play for, but I think they'd want to maybe try and break their their points record from last season, which I know that doesn't sound a lot on paper, but you're giving people an opportunity and a pathway back into the game, and it's just very, very frustrating. Hopefully from these experiences, especially this season as well, going forward, that's drummed in. And again, maybe going back to my earlier point about Van Dijk towards the end of the game, Grizz, he's like, no nonsense, stop trying stuff in areas that we don't need to do it. We're 3-1 up, let's not mess about. And it's good to see from him, but we probably do need that more in the middle of the park to be like, enough is enough. And I think as well, Grizz, you see that in games where you've not started well and you're maybe 1-0 down. Let's just, for 10 minutes, calm down, back to basics. So it is annoying, I'm not going to lie.
I think...
was you getting mad? Sorry, go on.
Yeah. I think you bang on to mention game management, Grizz, because I've watched this go back a few times now. And other than stopping the cross coming into the box, Elliot frails his leg out and it really should be pressing the man and putting his body on the line, do everything to stop that cross coming in. That's a basic of football and that will never change, right? And you see sort of Robbo and Virgil both over covering, but actually no one's particularly in a bad position. If they are, they recover well. They manage to get in front of the ball. There's a little bobbling around. Kwanzaa gets a block in, and when it falls to Castagna, yes, he's free in the box, but there is Robbo pressing him, and there is Endo on the line, and there's still Ali there who gets a touch. So you can't be super critical. Sometimes, I know every goal is preventable, but sometimes goals it's a little bit of fortune, and it is fortunate that it fell to Castagna's feet and he's able to tuck it away in the corner, which was probably the only place he could have finished it. So it comes back to just don't get yourself into that situation. Don't allow the cross to come into the box. Don't give them the ball. If you're ahead in the game and you're coming up to half time, keep hold of it, and it's a bit like what we spoke about when Evan spoke about Man City. It's just don't give them a way back in. And the best way of doing that is just retain the ball. There's no atmosphere in the crowd, fine, but you're a goal up.
Make it boring. Exactly. Yeah, just make it boring.
Boring, safe, get to half time, take the second half as it comes. But
guys,
like I say, you can't.
Is that when we're at our best though? Like we've grown up. We've become used to Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool teams, right? And I absolutely agree with evolution and game management and phases of play and timing and everything, right? And I agree with you, but I'm just playing the devil's advocate card a little bit and saying some would say that's the time to go for the kill, because there was a time where we could have scored a second before they equalized if we went for it, because we started finding pockets of space. We had worked them really well in the opening half an hour. They seemed to be tiring just before half time, and all it took was just us backing off, and all it took was for Fulham to have about 5 minutes of territorial advantage for us to succumb to a goal. I mean, I don't know. It's a catch.
I think we're a bit fragile at the moment, though, as well.
Yeah,
I do think we're fragile. I think, like, see if a ball comes in the box, and we had this conversation 2 weeks ago, Cav, about the Sheffield United goal. And my thinking in football is football's mad. Like, you could have a shot from 30 yards, it takes 2 deflections and goes in, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's maybe a source, you could stop, but football is a bit like that. And I think right now it feels like if there's a ball in the box and it lands to someone, we just don't have that confidence that we maybe had earlier. Well, not maybe even this season, but in previous seasons like the one you referred to, 1920, we were just resilient. We'll deal with it. Alisson will save it. And even though he still does that, by the way, Alisson is amazing, it does feel at the moment that I think the reason that even just playing it safe and, just seeing it out is because, one, we're not confident we can kill teams right now. I think we're still overthinking every chance because our decision making's been poor in the final third for the last couple of games. So you've got that on the attacking side. So you can maybe say, Grizz, I think you're completely right to say, put the fruit on the neck and just kill the game. And at this point, the last quarter of the half, I agree with that. But I just think they're not quite, confidence is wrong word, they're just not at it at the moment to fully back themselves to do that. And I think the other side is, it just seems at the moment that if a team has a chance like that, it's going in. Not as much as what it was when it was like before Klopp came, or like with Mignolet and stuff, or even you can maybe say carries for a bit. It just feels at the moment we're just a little bit as I said earlier, back to basics. I think we're a little bit fragile at the moment, and it does feel that those goals happen bang on half time when you're in that type of rut. Maybe rut's a bit too far, but you're in that form. Because see, when everything's going well, it seems to hit the post, or the keeper makes a great save, defender makes a brilliant block. I think we're just in that moment of form right now, and I think that's where we are. I don't think that's the plan going forward next season,
No.
Grizz. I just think at time you need to just deal with what's in front of you, and that's why people probably would give credit to, not to even Arsenal yesterday, getting that win when they had to get the job done. It's about your position, not necessarily about how amazing you are playing at this moment in time.
You know what? I think Pixelate Pigeon sort of spoke my mind there, tweet or messaged my mind. They said we could do with a 6 who's a lot more vocal. Communication still lacking in the final 15. Yeah, I think communication is lacking throughout the team at some points. And look, Endo has been a hero for us. He's done very well every time he stepped in, and he's had a bit of a rough patch when he came back, and then now he's coming back today. I thought the second half he was really, really good again, showing his experience and his leadership qualities, because you've got to remember he's an experienced member internationally as well for his national team, and played a lot of football, of course, in the Bundesliga. But I do think, you talk about moving forward, guys. I do think moving forward, we do need a more dynamic, powerful number 6 that we spoke about, that we needed last summer. Even though Endo has been very good, but I think not the icing on the cake, because we're not perfect, not the finished, not the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle, but I think is a vital piece of the jigsaw if this summer we pursue a dynamic, strong box to box. Or are you happy with your options, Kev?
I gotta be honest. I can't lie. It's all on tape. I flip flopped on Endo a little bit. I at one point said I don't think he'd be the long term.
I think we all have, Cav. I don't think you're alone there, mate. I think we all have.
And yeah, I didn't think he'd be the long term solution. I was never fully convinced he would be, but then I did sort of lean towards having him in there as the starter next season, and having Besetic come back and get some minutes next season. Obviously, Grizz, I'm a big admirer of him and want to see him sort of find his way back into the team. So I was okay with it next season onwards, having Endo and then Besetic sharing their minutes, McAllister in the 6 if need be. But I think what this sort of recent form has shown, and what we've probably learned in the past sort of few weeks with Endo and perhaps the tired legs, and perhaps sort of him sort of being caught out in moments and not really shielding as we need at the crucial point in the season, probably does say that you would want to sort of improve in that position. I think he'll be here. I think he'll be a great squad member, but there's definitely players out there that would perhaps be an improvement on Endo. And if we're gonna be the team back in the Champions League that hopes to go on and win it and compete for the Premier League, and that's obviously the sort of caliber we need to be chasing. So I like Endo. I think he's got a lot of qualities that do well for us as a team. But in terms of the entire course of a season, when you're fighting at the very, very top level, I think we perhaps do need to improve in that position. But the 6th position we spoke about before is key in any side, because not only do you shield the defense, and we've seen last season, as good as Virgil is, as good as Alisson is, as good as Konate is, if you don't shield them, they're nothing really. They can't do it alone. They need that protection. So not only do you have the crucial side of the defensive play, but also in terms of tempo, in terms of progressing up the pitch, the 6 really is a crucial position in any side. So it's finding the player that offers that balance, because we know what McAllister can do in that position, and we know what his downside is. The same with Endo. So definitely we can find somebody in there that kind of becomes sort of the key, and unlocks the team, allows the team to go play, allows the team to build up in the right way, and is in the right positions when required. Look, we had the best for quite a while in Fabinho. So if you ever needed a blueprint for what you need, that's probably it.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up LFC Sai. Tonight's MVP says, big up Grizz, love your channel, praying your father, hope he recovers soon. And as I said, gifted memberships, and soon there will be more You Never Walk Alone. Really appreciate that. And everyone who's managed to grab a membership is thanking you as well, and blessing you. Optimistic, she says, hi Grizz, hope you're doing well, thank you very much. You never walk alone, brothers, we'll fight till the end. We will indeed, because we go into 1-1 at half time after thinking, man, what did we just do? We kind of controlled the whole game pretty much. Fulham had a moment and they score from it. And obviously we have sort of, the bench that we got. Conroy, it's a huge bench with Szoboszlai, Salah, Nunez, to name just a few attacking options. What are you thinking? Are you thinking let's just bide our time? We've done fine. We can maybe think last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because I don't know if you guys are with me, but for the first time in a long time, I didn't want instant changes at half time. Like recently, we've been saying, right, he needs to come off. We had certain people that we said, right, that was a stinker. He needs to come off. No one really had a stinker. No one really had an amazing game. It was just like, no, well, let's just see how we got on. Or did you have different?
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of them where you say give the current players 15, 20 minutes, to see, because they're not doing terrible. You felt like it isn't a team who's played together that often with that lineup. It did feel like they were creating stuff, even with Diaz's movement, with Gravenberch, just in Gakpo. It did feel like they were not necessarily amazing, but they weren't shocking. They felt like they were trying different things. As you said earlier, trying to be more direct, not necessarily balls over the top all the time with Trent, which was there as well, but just the movement, just trying to make the runs to really cause problems. So I felt in this case, I wasn't like, make the changes like, okay, don't be reactionary, see how it goes. And ultimately that works out, doesn't it? Because the faith you keep in the players, a big goal comes from that, which I think might be quite a big goal, to be honest, Chris, for that player specifically. But I'll let you mention that.
No, well, this is it. It's literally into that, because 5-10 minutes, 53rd minute. And I think if we were to ask for substitutions, I have a feeling a lot of the fans would have said Gravenberch would have been possibly one player to say, look, bring him off. He's not having a great game. I think this guy's talented, guys. It's frustrating. I used to be a football coach when I picked up my bad injury, and I started doing a lot of like local team coaching, whatever, and like sort of 7-a-side, 8-a-side games as well. And I used to see these players, and you think to yourself, wow, they ooze so much talent and class. They can trap the ball in close spaces, have the ability to protect the ball, their touch, immaculate. You think to yourself, go and relay that on a big pitch. Show a bit of X factor about the aggressiveness side of your game and the game intelligence. And we've got a world beater. That's where I'm at with Gravenberch. He's got all the talent in the world, but I don't think he's got, at this stage, much of the other attributes I'm talking about. Cav, where are you at with Gravenberch? Because he was one of the names, I think, as we said, would have been sort of asked to be taken off. But thank God he wasn't.
Yeah. Gravenberch, well, he's still settling. And he's had good games, and he's had more good moments than good games. You see him receive the ball and he'll turn, or he'll sort of let the ball roll past his primary foot onto his second, and you're a bit like, oh, we don't often see a lot of dynamism in midfield from Liverpool players. The confidence to try a skill and a drag back and change the angle. I like that. I like that movement. I'm not going to lie, because if done well and if perfected, the opposition don't know how to handle you. They don't know how to press you. And if you can recreate angles just through your body manipulation and your footwork, it's a really exciting thing to have in a midfielder. But he does need to learn the pace of the Premier League. He does need to learn the physicality. He needs to take that raw talent and ability that he's got and translate it into being a Premier League footballer. And I still feel like at times he takes the game a little bit too casually. It's a little bit too slow. And that's fully understandable for where he is in terms of his development, his age, the fact that he didn't play a lot of football last season and so on. So I think there's definitely a player there. I really hope that the next coach that comes in sees that talent and works with him, because I truly believe that he is a really good player. And I think there's a place for him at Liverpool. But confidence is going to be a big thing for him. And as you put it, Conroy, like, you can't get much of a better confidence boost than scoring a goal. But we're not mentioned up until this point because we've been talking about Liverpool, but Fulham for large periods of that game weren't particularly good. you know, and I think that helps us out in today's game. I suggested a reason why earlier on when I spoke about our lineup, that maybe they didn't know whether to press or sit back. It felt like they were in between at times, and it really felt like if we just got some one or two passes together, that we could be in on goal. This goal comes about because they try and pass it out from defence, and it just is rifled straight into Elliott, who, fair play to him, takes a good touch and rolls it into Gravenberch. And for the first time in a long time, the guy on the ball that's about to shoot actually takes his time and shows some composure and tucks it into the far post. Like, Ev, please, you could sort your Wi-Fi issues and get back to us. But you obviously know the statistics and the profile behind Gravenberch, so you must have been pleased when he scored. I was just pleased to see a goal from open play, and a man actually showed some calmness when actually tried to concentrate on the finish. But you must have been pleased as well.
Well, yeah, we know what a 1-2 sort of touch pass looks like, and in my head, that's kind of what Gravenberch did mentally. He received the ball, he scanned his teammates to see if there was a slide rule pass he could make. Nope, another minor quick touch inside of the post, and it goes in. He just passes it in. It's an incredible just boom boom decision making, not getting caught in one mind or in the other. So many times against United at both games at Old Trafford recently, we'd get caught in between cross and shot and not end up doing either. Those are the most frustrating things, because it's one thing if someone overhits the pass or drags the shot wide or skies the shot. That's frustrating enough. It's another thing entirely when a player does neither this nor that. That is incredibly frustrating. Not with Gravenberch. He received the ball. No pass was on. I'm shooting. And I'm doing it all in 1 to 2 really fluid motions. And yet, like you said, credit to Elliott, who was not at his sharpest today, but still stuck to his principles. Incredible reception, great touch, feeds the ball through the lines to Gravenberch. And it's a great moment for a guy who has been on the fringes. And I did a miniature monologue on how empowering it is to have Jarell Quansah just rise into his ascendancy over the course of the season. Gravenberch has been on the fringes, you know what I mean? As Liverpool have struggled, there hasn't been time and luxury to bed Gravenberch in or give him games in the Europa League or the FA Cup. We're out of those competitions now. So to get such a crucial moment from a guy who is our 6th choice midfielder at this point, 5th or 6th choice at best, that's another empowering moment that we can have as fans, where we can just expect crucial contributions from anyone at any given point. And to be honest, we're foolish not to. I mean, look at the cult-like status that Divock Origi has at this football club. You know, plenty of people would have sold Divock Origi long before his legendary purple patch for Liverpool. So yeah, just another incredible moment. You already touched, Cav, on his party trick, me and my dad calling it, which is receiving the ball. He's very good at receiving the ball. What happens next is, up for debate, but receiving the ball, seems to know where the press is coming from, seems to know when to let it roll past him and receive on left foot, on right foot. That is a really invaluable skill that we've missed in the middle of the park. Curtis Jones is always really good at that. He's obviously been injured and struggling to play his way back into form. Szoboszlai, for all of his traits, I don't think receiving the ball in one fluid motion and connecting it to his next is one of those traits, at least not consistently. So I was really pleasantly surprised to see such a great just contribution from Gravenberch. It's a wonderful individual moment, and I was also pleased to just see him doing the bits and pieces of midfield work professionally as well.
I mean, we've mentioned 3 midfielders there, right? Curtis Jones, Szoboszlai, and Gravenberch. And I genuinely think they're the ball carriers. They're the ball progressors of this team. Now, whichever order you like we know the development of Curtis Jones of the last few years, but I think if we go back a bit, I think we used to get frustrated with Curtis Jones a la Gravenberch as well, in terms of areas, timing, timing of pass, getting shots off. Like Curtis Jones scored a beautiful. Do you remember the goal he scored in the Merseyside derby, top corner? And then we didn't see another goal for about 2 years, right? So we used to think, oh man, Curtis just got that in his locker. And Gravenberch scores this banger. And we think, oh, he's got that in his locker. And we know the other attributes. Someone tell me, I believe Gravenberch is a few years younger than Curtis Jones now, or a couple of years younger than Curtis Jones still. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm pretty much sure Gravenberch is younger than Curtis Jones, which is very encouraging. If so,
He's 1 year younger than Curtis Jones, I believe.
So I've got faith in Gravenberch in terms of 1 year of maturity. Maybe not elevate him to Curtis Jones levels of performances that we've seen this season, but for sure improve, because you've got to remember, Gravenberch has missed a whole year of football. Now, it will be imperative, I think, for his career, because I think I tweeted before the game, I think the likes of Diaz, Gravenberch, I can't remember who else I mentioned, are playing for their LFC careers, guys, because the new manager, new coach will have a total different way of playing. Gakpo was the other one I mentioned. And we're going to start getting onto the forwards, because Gakpo obviously sets up the third goal. Again, picking it out from the left-hand side, just having the ability to sort of come in field. And I don't know what you guys think and feel, but I just think Gakpo's position, maybe is he more comfortable on that left than he is through the middle? Well, A, because he hasn't played much through the middle during his whole career. Are we finally maybe seeing sort of shoots? Because, okay, where I'm trying to go with this, I think if Amorim is the Liverpool coach, the new coach, I think Gakpo on that wide left, could be his go-to guy, because I think he likes his left winger to be direct, have the ability to come back. We know Gakpo's work rate is there. I think his physicality is there. I don't know, man. Gakpo needs to find a particular role and a position, Conrad. Would you agree? Or are we going to keep utilizing him where we feel?
I think I'd love that, and that would be great. I feel like because he can do a few different roles, that'll always probably be used in different roles. But what I would say is he's been decent recently as well. He's been pretty good in the bad performances. But I just feel if he's in form, I feel like he makes the right decision. And it's not always in front of goal, like when he's maybe one-on-one and finishing wise. I'm not saying that, but I feel like today was a really good example of that's an obvious pass by a good run by a forward. And we've seen numerous examples where we have the inability to just see an obvious pass or make the right decision in so many instances in the last couple of weeks and couple of games. Whereas today, that was one where it was like, that's the ball on, that's the right decision. And to be fair, in the first half, he made the wrong decision because he gave it to Trent when he should have switched it to Diaz. But it was a good pass, and then it goes to a forward who, instead of overcomplicating football and cutting back, he has one touch and hits it with his left foot across the goalkeeper. Because you know why? You hit it across the goalkeeper because the odds are in your favour. You don't try and go near post. It's what you do. And that was a really good example of two people simplifying the sport and going with that instead of like the United conundrum where we're 5-on-2 or Arsenal 5-on-2 and we're just overcomplicating the sport. And that was really, I love that type of goal. To me, that is what you do in a situation. You go by the numbers. To me, that looked like it was a drilled move of play the ball through. Jota, it's not a coincidence. Like, we're going to have debates in the summer on Jota, but it's nothing to do with his decision making on his finishing, because he is the only one right now that you're confident. Yes, he missed a couple of chances, but ultimately, if I had to put my mortgage on anybody, I'd put it on Jota over any of our forwards. So that was a great moment. I just think Gakpo, to me, and you could pull up stuff where he's not been great this season. I'm not saying he's been amazing by any means, but I do feel like he is quite an intelligent footballer. So I don't think he's massively greedy. So I feel like if there's a player in a better position, he will give that the player. But back to the original question, guys, I feel like when you're a good player in football who can play multiple positions, it does sometimes get used against you. I feel like he will always maybe have that where he can play there, but if, let's say, across the forward line we need someone to go at right wing or we need someone to play in the false nine, I just think coaches will use that because you don't have a full team for the full year. Players get injured. But you know what? If he gets a good run of games together and he starts being so influential that you can't move him, then that's a different conversation. And then that's going to be an interesting conversation when it comes to Diaz. And then whatever way you look at that
I
list.
thought was very, very lively on the right.
Yeah, he's good on the right. Like he is. He's not like other wingers who some inverted wingers cannot play on their own side. Like Mo used to, but right now, like even the last couple of years, he can't really play on the left because he's not going to beat a man like that. Whereas Diaz has got that pace right now where he can still take a touch and beat him down the byline, but also cut in. And as Evan said earlier, which I think is a really good point, the predictability aspect as well can set in, especially for other teams who are analysing you constantly, the blueprint. And that's what was so good about these. Remember, it was 17, 18, and a little bit 18, 19, the fluid front three, where it was like, I think we played Leicester and we beat them 4-1, but through the game, they were switching the flanks, to really cause teams problems. So I'm not saying we're there yet, but it gives the new manager, whoever comes in, some options at least that a player can play both flanks.
The third goal, we were speaking, and I think we all agreed on sort of, what we felt about the third goal and who scored it. And it's funny, isn't it? We've been speaking and dreaming of Jota's return and where we would have been if Jota was here in those fucking games that we drew to United in the league, at home as well, and then against Arsenal, against City, and we were like, just Jota on that pitch, we would have got 2 more points minimum. I thought he was awful. I thought he was rusty. I thought his touch was atrocious. I don't think he could trap a bag of cement. That's the saying I was talking about beforehand. It was such a Jota. It was exactly what we know from Jota. And I don't know about you guys, but I knew he's going to score. And keep him on the pitch. I knew he's going to score today. Jota started a game of football after God knows how long. I knew he's going to score, guys. I was getting frustrated, as you guys were probably getting frustrated watching him actually play football. Because he wasn't playing football. Like Conroy, I love the way Conroy is talking about the sport. Complicating the sport, not even the game today, whatever. Conroy's like, complicating the sport. This guy is the total opposite of complicating the sport. He simplifies the sport. He simplifies the game. He simplifies the finish, the move. Everything is what we think. Do you remember what I said about Jota a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago? I said Jota does what us guys playing pro would do with our players. If we're playing FIFA or if we're playing we think if we're in this position, we're just going to do this. And it was a scrappy finish. Leno was awful. If I was my keeper, I would be fuming. Jota does just Jota things, right, Kev?
Yeah, 100%. Look, you basically summed it up.
Sorry, man. Yeah, I know. I had to speak on it myself as well.
He wasn't great. He wasn't great. But you know what? The reason I'm never going to be critical of Jota is because even when he's not great, the thing I love about him is he has this Suarez-like attribute where he'll just pick up the ball and run towards goal. Like, regardless, there could be like a 6 in front of him. There can be 2 centre-backs in front of him. He'll just run towards goal and just try and see what happens. The ball might bobble around. He might lose it. But at least if it's not going for you, at least if your team isn't particularly creating something, as a fan, it's nice to see somebody that's actually trying to just get at goal, and I admire him for that. It didn't particularly come off well today, but he just needs to stay on the pitch for as long as possible because, okay, yes, he misses a chance that gets deflected before it hits him earlier in the game, and I think that you could maybe say you could do better, but it was a difficult one in the way that the goal the chance transpired. In recent weeks, he has missed chances that we can't deny that, but he easily is our most composed, calmest, best finisher at the club, and that type of situation where he's played through and he finds himself either to the left or the right of the goal, he always makes the right decision. Like, sometimes football is very simple. When you're a forward, the quickest way on getting to the goal when you have the ball is to run in a straight line. Like, don't need to jink, don't need to cut across the defender, just run in a straight line. And you only do that when you back yourself on your weaker foot and you know how to finish. And it was said on commentary that as soon as he picked up the ball, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. It was a case of get to the box as quick as possible, right? And make sure that you he hits it with his weaker foot, his left foot, keeps it low, keeps it on target, makes sure there's some power behind it. So even if the keeper gets a hand onto it, like Leno does, there's still a chance of it going into the back of the net. He takes always chooses the option that has the best probability, you know, and that's the thing I love with Jota and his finishing. And it puts us 2
That's
up, and
actually
you're
a
like,
brilliant way
finally.
of putting it. That's a brilliant way of putting it. He chooses the best option that's the highest probability. That's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, because in that position, you know, I think if you think about what Nunez would do in that situation, okay, I don't know if he would think, you know, it's questionable at times, but if he was thinking, he'd maybe try a chip. He'd think, do I go around the keeper? Do I check back in onto my stronger foot? You know, and Jota very quickly assesses the situation and goes, as long as I do this, there's a good chance of it happening. And it's always about choosing the best chance, you know, and that's what he does well. And he backs himself on his weaker foot. So it's just key. And it's a real shame that we've lost him for periods this season, because like you say, he really is and could be the difference maker. But when you think about, just to tie it to the last point, and we talk about Gakpo and forwards and whatnot, what the next coach really needs to do, because every forward has quality and they all have different qualities. And I think the key thing is tying those qualities together, because Gakpo is somebody that, okay, he can play on the left, he can play on the right or whatever, but one thing he is he's quite selfless. He usually picks the right decision, shoots when he needs to shoot, will carry the ball when he needs to carry it. You know, he's strong. He'll look to pick out his teammates when he needs to, but he can only excel in that decision making if he knows what his teammates around him are going to do. Now, this goal transpires because Gakpo picks up the ball and Jota's already in a position telling Gakpo, give me the ball. His body language is telling Gakpo, I'm running through on goal here. I've created the space with the way that I've positioned myself onto the fullback and created the distance between the second defender. So it's Gakpo recognizes it and plays him through. And that's the understanding that our forwards need to get with each other. We've picked it up when Nunez does the runs from outside to win and Salah tries to play him in, but we need that other angles and that other build-up to create. And that's where I think somebody like Gakpo will excel, because he has the eye for it, but he needs to have the consistency with playing with the guys around him to just know naturally what player's going to make what run so he can pick it out. But the goal is just 2 players that shown calmness, shown composure, and we're able to just finish off the move. Jesus, how many? It's been weeks of just thinking, we get in these situations and then we fluff it.
It's been weeks since we've had a 2-goal lead. I don't know. We might have somewhere slipped my mind, but 3-1 comfort. You know, at ease ourselves, we can actually relax finally and not be on the edge and not tense. But we're talking about understanding and simplifying our attacks like they used to be, like Mane and Bobby Salah was synchronized attacks, like again and again and again. You knew. It kind of segues into the final part of what I wanted to talk to you guys about. And it's going to be, look, Szoboszlai, Salah and Nunez, come on. And normally you think, you look up at the time and you think, okay, 12, 13, 15 minutes left, 3-1 up. What's the goal difference saying? Let's have a look at this goal difference. I tell you what, 3 cameos from hell. I mean, people want us to discuss. So the final segment, we're going to, on Redfellas, from now on, the final segment's always going to be what the viewers and subscribers want us to talk about. And I think the consensus is we need to have a conversation, or do we need to have a conversation? So the conversation is what is going on with these guys, and then it's going to segue into what we're doing against Everton in terms of we won't discuss the midfield and the back, because that will pretty much pick itself. But what we're doing in attack, that's the second part. But the first part, whoever wants to take it, is who are these guys? Who are they? I don't know these guys.
I'm gonna go first. Just because my lack of quality internet is scaring me. I know it could desert me at any point. I want to kind of separate Szoboszlai from this bracket. I don't know if he belongs in this bracket. The nature of being a midfielder is very different. Nunez, you know, it's one thing if you're not the clinical, Jota-esque forward, but so much of the praise Nunez has gotten this season has been his general play, improving, stretching defenses, linking things up, creating chances for others, bringing his teammates into the game. He, in his own chaotic way, was becoming a really useful cog in the machine. Not the ruthless goal scorer we would like him to be, but a very efficient part of our overall mechanism. And that, along with the goals, has deserted him recently. So that makes him, fall down the pecking order. Firmino, how many 10 out of 10s did Bobby Firmino have in his Liverpool career without scoring or assisting? Quite a few. Quite a few. More than I can count on both hands. So that's concerning for me about Nunez. What does his long-term Liverpool future look like without Klopp? I don't know. He certainly falls into that category of what happens next, because that's a heavy investment into someone who is not yet an elite goal scorer. Whether the next regime has the same patience or whether he fits into the next system, I'm not quite sure. You could certainly say Darwin Nunez is an acquired taste. He's my taste. I like Darwin Nunez. I like him being on Liverpool. I've enjoyed him. But whether he's, hypothetically speaking, Ruben Amorim's taste and the taste of that regime with those guys, I don't know. Mo Salah, I've said this before. Sorry, go ahead, Cass.
Sorry, Ev, just before you go on to Mo Salah, because I'm really intrigued in what you got to say about him. But Darwin Nunez, right? The first task we get, the next coach, teach him the offside rule, please. Honest to God, he come on that pitch and he just spent the entire minutes he spent offside. The guy is the quickest man on the pitch. He's got acres of space. Someone please tell him to start his run a yard or 2 or 5 earlier. Someone please teach him to bend his run. Someone please tell him to not accelerate straight away and actually time your runs and slowly build up your run and just wait for the pass. And honestly, I know he is a bit of a chance magnet anyway, but imagine how many more chances he would get if he just stayed on side. Someone's got to teach him.
Because sometimes, Cav, to be fair, right, I remember being at it was the Liverpool Rangers game at Anfield, and in that game, he sometimes has games where he's absolutely bang on. He seems to, it's not like he doesn't understand. It seems to be, I don't know either. That's why it's quite confusing, because he seems to be bang on it sometimes, and then other times he seems like, okay, maybe the first one today is fine. He's just on the park, trying to get up to the pace of the game. You understand that. That's not a big deal. But when it's 3-4 times, and he does have games like that where it's 4 or 5 times in a row, you're not quite getting the way this line's working or how high they are. But then other games, he looks like he seems to get it straight away. And it's never once or twice. It can sometimes be a lot. And that is quite confusing. I think even that chance as well, he is offside, but he plays through, hits the side netting. Jota has one chance, his weak foot hits across the keeper. Even something like that, that's frustrating. It's give yourself a percentage chance, as you said.
It's moving on from frustration to annoying to infuriating.
I'm trying to be polite. I'm being polite.
Mate, look. Of course, people are gonna say, I've got an agenda against him. I haven't. I love Liverpool players doing brilliant for Liverpool. I just don't think he's a good footballer. Great footballer.
He's had a good. See, I think what I meant to add to that. Sorry, what I meant to say is I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. I'm trying to be more generous because he has had, as Evan said, which is rightly to say, we're not changing the narrative for the season. He's had a pretty good season at parts, right? And it was on an upward trajectory of helping the team. And then it seems to have been we've went 2 steps backwards in the last month or so, that it's becoming a meme again. And this is quite frustrating because I still say you'll get another season, but that is quite frustrating because you've put this onus on this player that can, when he explodes, he's going to explode. It's going to be unbelievable. And it was definitely helping. It was working, and now it's we're going 2 steps back.
He seems to have lost. His shoulders have dropped, man. For the first time in his time at Liverpool, it seems like he's he's had a on and off sort of time on the pitch. Sometimes hot, sometimes cold. But one thing I've noticed, and I'll let you guys say as well, one thing I've noticed about him, he never gives up. He continues, he carries on. He's got this positive outlook and sort of determination to go again and again. I saw him live at Villa, and he had he missed loads of chances. I turned around to my friend and I said, this guy's got 3 lungs, man. And he was causing problem after problem for Konza and Mings, it was that day, 2 established centre-backs, and he caused them hell. And I thought, wow, if we can just harness his physical attributes, which are elite, very much like Torres-esque. When Torres first burst on the scene, that was Torres. I just don't think he's got much else. Unfortunately,
we haven't been great as a team. You know, I hesitate to speak on individuals when the team
because of his
been
missed chances.
So well, yes, I know it goes both ways, Grizz. It's a two-way street at the end of the day. But you know, when Liverpool were a more cohesive unit, he was affecting play more positively. You know what I mean? Without having to score goals to be a positive contributor. But I don't know if he's a floor raiser. You know what I mean? Because Trent Alexander-Arnold,
you've used that phrase before.
I use when we were talking about Darwin Nunez at the start of the season. I said I think he's a ceiling raiser, but I don't know if he's a floor raiser. Because you know, guys who are floor raisers, Diogo Jota, Mo Salah, they have those types of attacking performances. They're just going to get it done. The ball's just going to go in the back of the net. It might not look pretty for 60 of the 90 minutes, but it's just going to happen. Trent Alexander-Arnold, he can score a free kick. He can do all this crazy crap. He's dead ball specialist, generational vision and passing technique. That's a floor raiser. That's a guy who comes in and immediately raises the floor of the team. I don't know if Darwin Nunez is a floor raiser. I've made this argument before. It's my big fear about Nunez. Is he a floor raiser? I don't think he's clinical enough to be a floor raiser. Jota is. Darwin Nunez, you think about him, he's a ceiling raiser. You put him in Liverpool 18-19, he might score 36 goals in a season. You know what I mean? You put him in Liverpool 19-20, same thing. You put him in Liverpool 21-22, the season where he had those great performances against us in the Champions League. He might, score 50 goals. But he joins Liverpool, and Liverpool's just suddenly aren't good anymore, and that's not really his fault. But I'm trying to picture Nunez in that way to understand just what his impact is, and without Klopp in the picture, without the regime that believed in him so much to warrant that financial package, I don't know what his future looks like. I mean, same could be said for any player. He is not unique. He's not unique in this regard.
Before the Nunez stands come out and say we're targeting and focusing only on Nunez, no, we've very clearly said 4 or 5 players are playing for their futures and LFC careers. And Conrad, I know you wanted to weigh in before we move on to the last topic.
No, the thing about Nunez is, like, I just wanted to add as well, I think the comment there is really invaluable. I think it's really good. There is a lack of number 9s out there, right? 100%. The thing is with Nunez, his qualities that he can help for the team of stretch and play, he can do so much that I just think he'll get another year, because if it does hit, and because there's not that many options out there. So let's say hypothetically you go for Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney's not going to stretch a team like that. He'll be more clinical, 100%. But if we want to play an explosive way like that, especially with Trent, he's not going to be able to do that. And the one thing you can say about Nunez is he does make the runs, and as Cav said, annoyingly with offside, but he does try to make good runs that allow you to cause teams problems. Let's say you get Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins has been probably arguably the player of the year. Another assist, 2 assists a day. He's been outstanding, but he might be in a purple patch right now. Whereas it's like, let's say Isak is the one that a lot of people are saying recently. Isak's got a lot of injuries. Isak's been phenomenal, but he's had about 2-3 injuries this season as well. So it just feels that I just don't see a world where that happens this summer with Nunez. I feel like he is definitely going to get another year. And as much as people in the comments are right to say it's annoying, he needs to be doing it now, he needs to be turning up now, I hear you, I do, but I just don't see a world where he doesn't get another year to do that. Because if he goes to someone else, and he is this unicorn that me and Evan have mentioned, where it can just all come together. Liverpool will regret that for the next 10 years if that comes to fruition.
Yeah, look, we're gonna have these shows. As I said before, we're gonna do plenty of shows in the summer in terms of what the future holds and give our opinions on the squad. We'll probably go section by section of the squad and see what we think, and we'll have loads of shows on that. But I guess one of the major topics of the summer will be Mohamed Salah, of course. Mohamed, I don't know whether to smile, cry, or laugh, man. This guy is Mr. Liverpool for the last 6-7 years, man. Icon, legendary, absolute Premier League GOAT. We needed him this month, man. We needed him this month to come back from that injury, and you could tell it was a serious injury. Because if Mohamed Salah's out for a couple of months, it's serious. Because this guy is bionic, man. He's a machine.
If Mohamed Salah walks away from international duty, how seriously he takes that.
He's a bionic man. This guy is, he is a machine. If he's injured, it's serious. But I just think it happened at the worst possible time for us, talking from a selfish point of view in terms of Liverpool. He's our king, man. We needed him. He looks a pale shadow of himself. I'm not going to go to Cav first. I'll let Cav have the middle say. I'll go to Evan first, and then I'll let Conray have the final say. Again, similar question. Well, I guess there is a future chat about Salah. And B, we'll get to B together. We'll talk about the Merseyside derby and the attack. Mohamed Salah.
Okay. As I've said, I'm going to go back to the point I made in recent weeks on the show, which is we've been remarkably spoiled with his injury history or lack thereof. So if anybody was overdue a portion of a season where they get a serious hamstring injury and come back looking rusty and not really themselves, and it takes them a while to play back into it, it's him. He's earned a few of those. You know what I mean? Because he's just been, like you said, Grizz bionic, just so constantly available season after season. Nothing serious. This is the fact that a grade 2 hamstring strain is as bad as we've had it really under Mohamed Salah is a bit of a miracle in itself, given how much we lean on him, how much Egypt leans on him, all these things. So he has earned the right to have a rusty patch after a hamstring. Absolutely. I think it is just unlucky that this is the season and this portion of it where one of the specific problems is conversion rate in front of goal. Your GA machine just isn't up and running for the first time since 2017. That's cruel. I will point out, in the interest of being fair, I think even if Salah had maintained his usual standard and the injury never would have happened, there would still be a conversation over his future this summer regardless, because Saudi Arabia would be coming back for him. He would be another year older. There would be a regime change. We have a whole new operation at sporting director and people under the sporting director and CEO of football. So even if Salah had won the Golden Boot and done his usual thing, these last month and a half, we would still be having this conversation regardless. The injury and the rustiness is just adding. It's just one more negative element on the sliding scale of this debate. It's a conversation. Do Liverpool want to give him another big contract? Is he going to be like, well, I don't want to go to Saudi Arabia, but you need to up your money to make me stay? Do we want to do that? All these hypothetical scenarios. I'm not quite sure. I'm trying to separate the emotions from it. My gut tells me that Michael Edwards is not going to give him another big contract, because Michael Edwards is just not what he does. He lost the Henderson battle. He didn't want to give Henderson a new deal. Lost that battle to Klopp and co. I not to say that he would take that personally, and that means Mohamed Salah doesn't get a new deal. But you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not quite sure. All I know is that if we are going to win this title, we have to continue to try and play him back into form, because the upside that you get from even Mo Salah at 75-80% I think far outweighs the other options. Like I think if you just roll the dice and play the numbers game, with 5 games to go, you might say that's a bit too late, but I think Liverpool maximize their chances of getting the big prize this season if they can work him back into form. And here's the thing: people are saying clock's ticking. I get it, but you can't bench Mohamed Salah if his only crime is being rusty. How do you fix that? So that's just how I see it. I will go down with the Mohamed Salah ship. Is I guess what I will say to that, and I will have no regrets doing so if it's not the happy outcome we all want.
For people that have been watching Redfellas for the last year or so, couple of years, whatever, and certain accusations of, oh God, well, because we have our haters, guys. Don't get carried away. Don't think you're all God's gift, right? Conroy, Cav, Keith, Steve, Evan. There's a lot of hate out there for us, and people say we agree on everything and it's boring because they're always agreeing. Cav, your thoughts on Mohamed Salah?
Yeah, well, it's probably not going to be a surprise that I disagree with Evan. I think that we shouldn't play Salah into form. I think we should play those that are performing better than him. To be honest with you, I've recognised, obviously, he's had his injury, and that's had an impact. He's in bad form, and I think it is form. His actual performance, his normal performance level is above what he's given us right now. The thing that upsets me is the lack of effort. He shirts out of duels. He doesn't track back. It feels like the ball has to be in his feet and he needs runners around him to be effective. Doesn't beat his man. And I have no doubt about it. We would not be in a title race. We wouldn't have won a trophy and have been competing for the others as long as we have without him. But I just think that I don't want him to go, but I wouldn't argue against it, to be honest with you. I just think that we're at a point now where there's going to be a new coach coming in. Edward's back. It's going to be a new regime. It's going to be a new style. It's going to be, and we've got young players. We've got exciting players. We've got talented players. And no doubt Mo Salah is one of them. But I just think that we can get somebody on the right wing that can offer us the fight more, the work rate more, perhaps not the goal and assist. But I think overall as a team, we perhaps could benefit from that. I just think that he's not got the work rate. He's not got the battling and stuff that I want to see from my winger. And I just think as a team, we'll score enough goals. I think we'll be defensively better with somebody else in there. And look, I love Mo Salah. I absolutely love him, but I support Liverpool and I'm thinking ahead and I can't let what he's done in the past come too much into my thinking. I've got to look at what's here and now, and I've got to look at what I think we can achieve in the future. And I think the future is bright even without Salah. So, look, I'm not going to fight the battle too hard. All I'm saying is if an offer comes in this summer, it will be the first time that I don't sit there and go, God, I wish he'd stay. I wish he'd stay. I'd just be like, okay, and we move and we see what we can do with that money. And there are good wingers out there. And I think with certain movements from some high-profile players moving around this summer, I think there could be, without mentioning any names, some good wingers coming available on the market that I would be quite happy to see in that right wing position. You've seen it today, what Diaz can do out on that right wing and the diversity and whatever he offers. So, yeah, I'm not going to say sell him, get rid of him, leave. I'm just going to say if he chooses to leave or a bid comes in, cool. Let's keep it moving.
Conroy, final word.
Yeah, I think that's both good points. On this one, for initially the Everton game first, and then on to what I think will happen. I think Everton game, I agree with Cav. I think a couple of weeks ago, I said I played him against Brighton. It was after the Brighton game. I'd keep playing him. But unfortunately, as much as Evan is bang on that this guy does have moments, but just right now it just seems to be causing quite a lot of problems for the team. So on paper, I wouldn't start him. However, he will start, I think, because Klopp will just, I can't see in a world where Klopp doesn't start him in the Merseyside derby. If you look at his record against Everton, he scores quite a lot against them. So I think he will. I would probably play the players who've warranted that. So I would agree with Cav on that. I just think I've been, what Evan said, playing back into form. I've been saying that for the past 4 weeks. I just don't think it's going to happen right now. Whereas against Everton, if he doesn't start, you could bring him on with 20 minutes to go and give him that sample time to really have an effect on the game. But that's where I am at the moment. With the summer, I've thought about this actually for the last couple of weeks because I spoke to my cousin recently about this, and we spoke about, Virgil, Salah, new coach coming in, should he stay? Right now, 100% Virgil. That's 100% has to stay. Like, that would be catastrophic. Okay. And I'm a bit like Cav. I'm not saying, sell him. I'm not. But I think the stars are aligning at the moment. And if you're having a clean slate with a new manager who's coming in with no kind of previous, this is my guy, this is the one for Liverpool, obviously understands how good he's been. But it's maybe a good time that last summer we spoke about the possible transfer to Saudi or leaving. Maybe it makes sense right now to do a clean slate and make that transfer, especially as Evan said, Michael Edwards ain't here for sentiment, he's here for business. And if he can see, let's say, 80 million to 100 million or whatever, if that's on the table to reinvest into the squad, it's probably the best time to do it if you're looking at it from that standpoint as well. And it's even if he goes and he's amazing somewhere else, I think all parties could agree that's probably the right time to do it because it's going to be a fresh either way. And the notion that you're going to replace Mo Salah with a Mo Salah is never going to be the case. So we really have to drum that in right now. You're not necessarily replacing a person who's going to have those. You're just not going to happen. But you have to look at the squad and the team as a collective and allow a new manager to come in with their own ethos, their own thoughts, and build a squad. And I just think if you're going to do that, I had initially said it's better to keep him. And I've not got a problem if he stays at all. I just think for all parties, this summer might be the best time. And with the comments saying about giving another contract, I do not see a world, like Evan said, where that happens. I just can't see that because you're losing Klopp. And let's say it's Amarin. Amarin's really impressive, but he's not got the Jurgen Klopp appeal. Like Liverpool do appeal to players, I'm not disputing that. But Jurgen Klopp's one of the best managers in the world. So therefore, to be able to reinvest that money on certain players, it makes a lot of sense to do it now. And as Cav said, there is options available. So I think that it may be the best time to do it. But we'll see. We'll have lots of shows on this channel to discuss it in more detail.
You probably, because in fairness, some of the chat have pushed back on my points. My overriding thing is I think the best Liverpool is when the crowd and the momentum carries us, like wind in our sails. And I think to achieve that, you need every single player. You need to see every single player fighting, winning duels, contesting duels, tracking back, running forward. You need high energy. You need high fight. And I just think Mo Salah has become a particular player where you don't get that from him, but you do get elite chance creation and what have you. And I just think that if, like Conroy said, sorry to sort of drag you in a point you didn't want to be dragged in, Conroy, but if there was ever a time to evolve and move on, I think now would be the time to sort of to move on from Salah and bring somebody.
You're
in
looking at that from a rational
fight.
point of view, Cav. It's not necessarily saying you dislike someone. It's like, but even from Salah's point of view, let's forget from our side, Salah, I think we all agree, would want to probably play in the Saudi League at some point as well. Ronaldo, what age is Ronaldo? 38. Someone made a good point the other day that they'll be looking for someone to be like their, what is it, the pinnacle player, the icon for that when Ronaldo retires or whatever happens there. So he probably, wants, I think in the past I've heard stuff that he'd be interested in that as well. So I'm not just being solely Liverpool. I think from both parties, it probably makes a lot of sense. If you're looking at it from a rational point of view, I'm not saying it's definitely that would be the way to go, but I can understand that way of thinking. Like it's an awkward situation in general because Klopp's leaving. I tell you where I'm straight away. Like you don't want it all to fall by the wayside.
I tell you where I'm wrong, right? I don't think Salah's played well all season. Yet, if you look at his statistics, you'll always be able to say, "Shut up, you're wrong. What you on about? He's contributed. You won't get anywhere without him." But I would say 75% of games, I'm sat there frustrated watching Mo Salah. I'm sat there thinking, really? one of our captains, highest paid player at the club. Like, you're doing nothing at the moment. And then he'll walk away with a goal, maybe from a penalty. He'll walk away with an assist. He'll create 2 or 3 good chances. And I think we've got enough quality elsewhere to replace that type of player with somebody that is up and coming, young, and fighting their way through.
Well, can I just add as well, Grizz? I wanted to ask your thoughts on this, Grizz. So, see, earlier we mentioned Continue FC, like the comment said that. For me, that's brought something up in my head. Not that specifically, but Coutinho. When we sold Coutinho, that was a sliding doors moment, and we've just spoke about how we probably do need a combative DM. Someone out there. There'll be plenty of shows on this. You could argue that this is maybe that moment as well. We need to get a deal done to reinvest in the squad, and maybe this is the catalyst for that. But I think my mind will probably change next week on this. So it's going to be a continuous conversation for the next couple of months.
When he smashes
wins
Everton
the
in the
league.
derby with a 7-minute hat trick,
That can still happen. I'm not disputing that at all.
I just want to, from a neutral point of view, I just think a lot of people have gone broke betting against Mo Salah over the years. And if I was a betting man, I just don't think I would. I think I'm talking about in the context of the last 5 games. I maintain that the two conversations are different, right? Because should we sell Mo Salah or not? Like I said, that's a conversation even if he's been finishing the season strongly. No matter what, that's a conversation. But I just think, Diaz, good shift from right wing today. Didn't really happen on his side in the second half. I just think the upside of trying to get Mo Salah, even, like I said, 75, 80%, that's bigger upside than sticking Harvey Elliott there or Luis Diaz there or Cody Gakpo there. I would rather play those odds. And it is a game of analytics. This is how this game is played. That's kind of how I would do it. And while I totally agree that, there are plenty of other great players out there just waiting to break out and become the next big thing. We might look back and be in for a rude post-Salah awakening. We got such great production out of that. There might be a time where we miss that. Undoubtedly, there will be a time where we miss that. But in the context of these last 5 games, Klopp has always said we take it season by season. We don't think about this summer until the summer is actually here. Let's back this guy to give us the production we come to expect. He has earned this time. He's earned this period to come back from his injury. Let's just play the numbers and let's play the upside and let's back a guy who has over the years constantly delivered for us in our hour of need. So but I respect everybody's opinion, and I do think the big dialogue this summer and what to do with the financials of Mo Salah, that's an entirely different conversation, and it's one that's not going to go away.
You guys have covered it, man. I don't want to drag you on more. As I said, there will be conversations, as I've said, in the summer. Very, very, very briefly, because we're coming up to 2 hours, man. It's been some show, and still 300, close to 300 of you guys in there. Smash the like button. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate it. Mohamed Salah, I think there's going to be conversations. Of course, there's going to be conversations. What I mean by that is, I think this regime change will mean a regime change. That's what I think. I think this is. I don't think. I know, Conrad, you're comparing it, or you was trying to sort of ask about the Coutinho situation scenario. I don't think it's like that, because we're in a far healthier position financially and overall squad wise, and obviously we're not going to get that kind of money for Salah now. Well, actually, how much?
I agree with that. I agree with that, Grizz. Just because Liverpool were ready to spend 120 million on Caicedo. Yeah. They were ready to do that. So I believe FSG when they say the money is always there to go big if we can make it happen. So
I just
I hear that, guys, and that's fair enough. But what I was meaning is that is fair. But my point was, if you could still make money off the sale if you're looking at it from
we're
like
not
Michael
gonna
Edwards,
we're not gonna want to let Salah, Mane, and Bobby go for peanuts, all three of them. And you know, from what we know of Edwards, how he operates, and I think it's a very strategic move. The fact that FSG have brought back Edwards for this very purpose, because the rebuild or the new manager's team is going to need a bit of a rebuild, even though we've done quite a fair bit last summer. And therefore, why not bring back the man for rebuilds and Michael Edwards? So, and when Michael Edwards comes back, then sentiment walks out. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, Michael Edwards is walking in and sentiment is walking out. So all those deals for Milner and Henderson and keeping Lovren, and I'm going back now, but you know, keeping XYZ, that were Klopp's decisions pretty much on the whole, 90%. I don't think they're happening under the new regime. I think in conjunction with the new manager, he will be given a squad that aligns with his future. And look, there's no shame in saying Mohamed Salah. You know, someone said earlier on, Father Time, has a role to play in everyone's life at some stage, and yeah, you know, I agree with Evan in terms of his upside is better. His upside is the best in the world still, you know, but whether we get that upside, I'm not so sure. I think this injury came at a bad time in his career and for us, and in terms of negotiating possibly a new deal. That's if he wants to sign a new deal and continue at Liverpool. But listen, plenty of chat, plenty of time to talk about all this kind of thing. Just want to end it on that note, I guess. Merseyside derby, here we go. Can we exercise more demons at a club that is just not as good as us at football, but we sometimes struggle to play football at their ground, just like Manchester United? Only time will tell. This has been Redfellas, Cav, Evan, Conroy. I've been here for you guys. I've been just listening and taking it all in. And it's been magnificent. Smash the like on your way out if you haven't. Share, subscribe. And we've got loads of other bits and bobs coming through the summer, which I'll keep you posted. Redfellas, out.